In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how Tact is the core of all lean thinking and how it creates a production system in an assembly line in construction, just like they do in Toyota, and why it should be our focus instead of administration. Stay with us. Okay, everybody, I am jamming out. By the way, I want to recommend a really cool book. It's called Built to Fail. I love what Todd writes in the book, and he makes a really good point. He says instead of administration, we should be creating production systems. Instead of management systems, we should be creating production systems. And Tact is at this is now where I'm taking over the conversation. Tact is at the core of that. So I'll give you two quick comparisons. If you take a CPM schedule, all that happened there was somebody entered, and it was one person, and by the time that schedule gets too big, that one person doesn't even remember what he or she put into the schedule. There's nothing in a CPM schedule, anything, not a single thing that will help you that I know of, other than possibly just putting in your hammock activities for phases so you can see which ones are most critical. But you can see that on a Tact plan anyway. But the bottom line is, a CPM schedule is called predictive planning, okay? You're attempting to predict what's going to happen. And it's based around what the owner wants to happen, okay? That is not what Tact does. Tact is a production system that levels, according to production theory, trades in a four-dimensional schedule. A CPM schedule is a two-dimensional garbage schedule. It has no value whatsoever. Tact obeys production laws by making sure that we are having the right size zones, which is according to Little's law, that we are leveling the work in process, and that we are finishing as we go. So you can see that flow in the schedule itself. Tact is not a predictive schedule. You can use it as a target schedule and to target when you're going to start things, but mainly to align procurement. But the main thing that it is, it's a possibility schedule. Okay? It's a seeing schedule. Okay? The problem here is that in a CPM schedule, they will grab a baseline, but because you can't see years out in advance and know what's going to happen, you're going to have to change the schedule. Well, they want to compare the current progress with the baseline. But knowing that you have to change the plan out in the future, now you're stuck. So now you have an unrealistic schedule. But if you change it, then you can't compare to the baseline. So all of these different tools and float trends and slippage reports and baseline comparisons and critical path analyses are absolutely garbage because you cannot predict with certainty what will happen out in the future. And nobody cares what you want if it's not possible. So in a Tact plan, we use production theory and leveling and production rates to target the alignment of materials, show what's possible, and see so that you can always adapt and change that schedule, especially because you have buffers, and really make changes as you go. So they're two completely different things. Tact is at the base. This is a 2D schedule. Tact is a 4D schedule. It's absolutely amazing. You should not use CPM. Every position, every schedule, every filter, every process, anything that has to do with this is a waste, and it should be done away with. It's all waste in our industry. The reason that Tact is at the base is because it shows us what's flowing. So I'd like to draw that for you. If you go into a car manufacturing plant, which we all like to compare in construction, you will see that these different cars are on an overhead conveyor and they go past these stations, okay? These stations are fixed to the ground. They might be computer run, or they might have an actual individual there. Their materials are fed to the actual station itself, and it's running on a takt time. Okay? If you were going to ask what is the flow unit, The flow unit is the car itself. In a hospital, it's the patient. In a pod, it's the product. But that's what's flowing. And construction is not a lot different than manufacturing. And somebody would be like, wait, what did he say? Well, instead of the car flowing, in construction, the zones on a project are the car, and it is fixed to the ground on the foundations. But something has to flow, right? So you have trades that flow from zone to zone to zone in a flow and in a sequence. So your trades, right? This is your trade number 1, 2, 3, 4, packaged into a production system is your flow unit in construction. So in manufacturing, the robots and the station is fixed and the car flows through. In construction, the car or the zones are fixed and the trades flow through. It's the exact same process in the reverse for what's flowing. So your train of trades is your flow unit. Okay? That's exactly what's going on. So tact is the basis of this. And when you look at time moving to the left, and if you list out zones number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 going through here, and you're saying, hey, that train of trades is going to move through those zones, the tact plan that you're starting to see is simply a representation of where that train was in time. Okay, the train is going down, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. That train is moving through the zones on a tact time. So this shape right here is the intersection of time and space. And so it creates the basis. And this is absolutely amazing because we're able to see in that diagonal that everything is flowing as trades. So this is essentially your train, and these are your zones, like I was talking about, and you can see it flowing just like I've shown in this diagram here. Once you know your rhythm of how you're going to flow through, you know when materials, information, labor, equipment are supposed to go to each of these zones, right? Labor, materials, tools, equipment, information. You can feed these at the right time, and it becomes the basis for everything else. It's a production system. The other thing you can see when you have a tact plan is the ability to zone it to where you have buffers at the end, according to Eli Goldbrat's work in his book called Critical Chain. And if you have interruptions, you can manage it as a train. So tact is the basis for everything. It allows you to see how the train is flowing and how to support the train, how to stop and recover the train, everything. A CPM schedule represents nothing in the real world. Could you imagine Toyota mapping out their actual production line on a CPM schedule? It would basically be like, well, this car is going to go over that, and that ties over here to this part. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, not at all. That's worthless. The car moves through the factory in a beautiful flow. The patient should go through the hospital in a beautiful flow. The actual product should go around that horseshoe pod in a beautiful flow. And our trades should go through the project in a beautiful flow. And you cannot do that in a schedule that has time by deliverable. You have to do that in a schedule that is time by location. Then you can see that flow. Tact is the basis for everything we do, and it's the only schedule that will enable us to create a production system instead of a schedule. Because you can predict what you want and want what you want, but if you can't do it, it doesn't matter. That's why, and I'll show you one last thing as we go here, as a part of this concept, that is why you can have a CPM schedule, and you can want all day long, and you can wishful think all day long, and you can go ahead and do your slippage reports all day long, and do your baseline comparisons all day long, and do your float trends, and do your critical path analysis, and you can get Acumen 360 and all these things, but your end date was not based on production, because your trades are only ever able to do what they're actually able to do based on the resources. And ignoring the resources for a construction project and in construction is our biggest sin. So people look at me and they're like, Jason, oh, you're saying extend your schedules, that's easy. No, this is what the trades were able to accomplish and the end date. If you follow CPM, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start to rush and push and panic people, and your actual deadline or duration is going to end up out here. This is the blind spot. People think, oh, Jason's talking about Tact, well, my CPM is better. No, I'm talking about Tact, and your CPM is worse. You cannot expect something people can't do, rush and push and panic them, and overextend the schedule and blame it on people. It's the system that we're using. We're going to have to start using Tact as a basis. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.